welcome back to my channel and welcome to summerween. So I wasn't initially ever planning on participating in summerween this year just because we had such a busy weekend, and for some reason in my mind I thought that they were just doing like a long weekend edition. I don't know why I thought that in my head. So I thought that it was running from the 7th to like Monday or Tuesday, like today or tomorrow. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to participate just because like I'm not going to be able to read like at all this weekend with everything we have going on. But it goes all the way until like, when does it go? The 13th, Thursday. Today is the 10th. So I have technically 4 days, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's like not even half over. So I could totally still participate. And I might not be able to check like everything off, but it'll be just fun being able to participate. So I think I'll do today and tomorrow vlog, and then 12, 13, Wednesday, Thursday vlog. So hopefully 2 vlogs out depending. I really want to use this opportunity to take a lot of books off my physical TBR. The problem is I don't have a lot of spooky stuff on my physical TBR because I always prefer listening to thriller or horror, like on audio. I just feel like I get a little more immersed that way, and my eyes can't wander and like spoil myself, you know? I only have 4 books technically that are considered like horror thriller, and there's some good ones. They're definitely ones that I want to get to, and I think this will be a really good excuse to finally push myself to read them. I'm going to show you what I have, and then we'll see where they fit in the prompts, because obviously I don't think I'm going to be able to get to all of these in 4 days time, but you never know. I actually have the audio of all of them, so it's not impossible. The first one is White Horse by Erica T. Worth. This is an arc that I just unfortunately never got to in time. This is a horror. Honestly, I'm not actually 100% sure what any of these are about. I'll be honest, I feel like I tend to go into most thrillers and horrors kind of blind just because some synopses really ruin stuff. Or like if you don't read the synopsis, then sometimes you'll get like extra bonus twists. Like if you forget or something or don't read it, then some things are surprises that wouldn't have been had you read it. So honestly, I just haven't been like reading a lot of synopsis lately. I know this is about like a woman whose mom dies, and there's like some family heirloom or bracelet type thing, and then there's hauntings and stuff. Honestly, not 100% sure. Then I have Cross Her Heart by Sarah Pinborough. This one is something about like a mother and daughter. They're like on the run, or they've created a new life together. And then something happens where the daughter gets put in the news, and the people they were running from, or the situation they were running from, gets brought up again or something like that. Like I have no idea. I've actually never read a Sarah Pinborough ever, but I did watch Behind Her Eyes, and it tripped me out like a lot. So if this is anything like that, I'm really excited to finally get to it. Then I have In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I've read from Ruth Ware before, and I have enjoyed them a decent amount, between 3 and 4 stars. But from what I've seen on Goodreads, this one seems to be like the one that people like the most. I don't like her new stuff. I've tried to read like 2 of her releases from the past like 3 years or so, and I have not even, I think, gotten through them. I know for sure the Snow one I DNF'd like 2 or 3 times into like her older stuff, so we'll see. But yeah, I do have that. This one I don't really know if it counts. So this is The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland, another arc that I didn't get to. Actually, these 2 are the last arcs I own. Can you believe that? This is a vampire story. And on Goodreads, which the tags aren't always super accurate on Goodreads because people, like users, can put them in themselves, so it's not always like the most accurate to the book. It's kind of just like what people think, the vibes people get. So it's a vampire story, but on Goodreads it's marked as fantasy because vampires. But then it's like, but it's not fantasy the way you think of fantasy. It's just marked fantasy because of the vampires. So I don't know. It's also fat. Like the audio on this I think is like 14 hours. So I don't know if I'm going to get to this one because I don't even know if it technically counts. It feels a little bit more like gothic to me, but like why would that not count for summerween? You know what I mean? And vampires, hello. So I feel like it should count. So there's that one. And then I do have on my laptop the Midwinter Witch by Molly Ostertag, and this is what I'm going to read for the manga, graphic novel, or novella selection, because this has been on my TBR for so long. It's the last book in this series, and then that will be a completed series for me. And it's witchy. I mean, this one's set in winter. It's the Midwinter Witch. There's snow on the cover. It looks so cute, but it's a witch story, so obviously summerween. It fits. It fits. So let's figure out the TBR, right? So there's read a book in the dark. For that one, most likely, since I don't have any of these on Kindle, I'm probably going to read Midwinter Witch in the dark because it is on my laptop, so I can like put a candle on, turn the lights off, and still like skim through on my laptop. Read a thriller. I'm probably gonna do In a Dark Dark Wood because I've had it the longest out of any of these, and I really want to just finally get around to it. Read a book that takes place in the fall. I have no idea. I won't know, I guess, until I read these. Read a book with orange or black on the cover. This also has black on the cover. And then read a graphic novel or a novella. That would be Midwinter Witch. For the black on the cover, I'm actually going to throw in, though, White Horse. I'm going to count White Horse as this, just because I do really want to get to it. And then that would leave me with 3 books in the next 4 days, which I think is a little bit more realistic since I am starting this pretty much at the halfway point. But I think I'm setting myself up for success. So read a book in the dark, Midwinter Witch. Read a thriller, In a Dark Dark Wood. Read a book that takes place in fall. Hopefully one of these fits that. If not, I'll pick up like another graphic novel or something. So I'll pick up like Pumpkinheads, which is such a cozy, fun story. I'd love to reread that. Mooncakes, I'd love to reread that. I'll pick up like an old favorite that like a quick read that I know takes place in fall. Orange or black on the cover. These all have black on the cover. And then manga graphic novel would obviously be Midwinter Witch. Just see what happens, I guess. I think I'm gonna start with White Horse. I have some things to do around the house, and I will check in later. So I just got to about the 25% mark in this audiobook. I think that would be page 65. It doesn't look like halfway. It looks like way less, but on the audio it says, so I don't know. It's not what I expected. I'll say that from the jump. This is marketed as horror. It's marked on Goodreads as horror. Like, it's pretty well known that this was meant to be horror. It's definitely eerie. You know, she's having some like hallucinations and stuff like that, but that's about it. It's about this woman whose mom left her when she was 2 days old, and then her dad was obviously super depressed, and he was drinking a lot and got in a car accident and is disabled from that car accident now. Her cousin gives her like a bracelet that she had found that used to be her mom's, and ever since she like had that bracelet, now she's seeing hallucinations, she's seeing things, she's seeing her mom's ghost, she's seeing like symbols, she's seeing other hallucinations that like don't have her mom in them, so she's starting to see things. She went to like this woman who is known for doing like healing a lot of ailments and stuff like that, and she told her like, oh, you need to figure out what happened to your mom, and then that'll make her go away because your mom's unable to like pass on because of this or something like that. The story then from there, and that was just like a couple chapters ago, so now it seems like she's just kind of trying to figure out what happened to her mom, and that's it. So for me, and I'm assuming then that's how the rest of the book is going to go, is her trying to figure out what happened to her mom, right? To me, that feels more like mystery thriller. That's not necessarily horror to me, unless it gets a little bit more like gory or intense. Then I could see this, you know, turning into a really like spooky kind of story. But right now, if it just follows on this path of like, I'm trying to figure out what happened to my mom, that's almost just like mystery thriller to me, paranormal, definitely, but I wouldn't necessarily say like horror. I don't know, it's just, I do like the writing style a lot, but the story itself, it's just not what I expected so far. But obviously a lot of horror stories, you really don't get there until, you know, the 50% mark, and then it really like peaks up. So we'll just have to see. But so far, it's just not what I expected. So it's the next day, which is now day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of summerween. And where's my book? Hold on. I did get to about the 50% mark. I think I'm at like 48% or something like that actually, in White Horse. And I listened to it a lot last night before bed, in the dark. I agree with everything that I had said previously yesterday, like about this book. I'm not really getting horror from it. I'm definitely getting kind of like detective mystery vibes, you know, like she's trying to figure out what happened to her mom. And so she's like going and talking to like the police, and she's talking to like all these different people. She just, you know, met like someone on her mom's side of the family for the first time, and like is talking to them to try to figure it out, and like all these, I don't know, it's just like mystery detective things, but nothing is like, ooh, that's like scary. Nothing's like horror. You know, since it is considered horror, I would have liked a little bit more horror, a little bit more scare, a little bit more eeriness. But I am still enjoying it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I am really enjoying this book actually, but it's just not what I expected. Goals today would be to obviously finish this. Since I have the audio, which I really like the audiobook for this, the narrator and everything, it's really, really nice. I luckily can do other things while I listen to it. So I really need to take these nails off. These are the nails that I had from our wedding, and they're like a month grown out. They're Gel X. So I need to like cut them off and then figure out a way. I know that some people like soak them in acetone. That grosses me out for some reason, because I feel like it makes your fingers get all like weird. I don't know. So I need to figure out a way to pop them off without ruining my natural nails. I need to pop those off, so that might take a while. That's gonna be some good reading time. And then I'd love to read Midwinter Witch, and then that only leaves us, I think, with In a Dark Dark Wood for days 6 and 7, which would be perfect. So yeah, that's like the goal for today, just reading a lot. So let's just get into it.
My grandmother, even as a beast. I mean, for fuck's sake, I was seeing shit now without even touching either one of these things. And if the bracelet was what pushed me, opened me up to those things, and I hadn't even touched it then, how had I seen her? Maybe she'd come back in time to push it all into motion, I thought, feeling crazier than ever.
So I did finish White Horse, and I feel like it's exactly like what I expected. Horror elements like weren't really there at all. I feel like it's 100% like through and through paranormal mystery, maybe a little bit thriller, but honestly, like I don't think that it's horror at all. That's not to say that it's not good. I feel like it is okay, but it's more like drama, literary fiction than I was expecting, and I stand by that it's not really horror. I still did give it like 2.5, 3 stars, probably like a 3-star, because it wasn't bad by any means, but it just wasn't what I was expecting. And I think had I known that this was more just like kind of murder mystery, thriller, paranormal, and not like horror, I maybe would have gone into it like with obviously different expectations, but it is what it is. I did still enjoy it. I enjoyed my time with it. I think that it's still like an interesting read. I do feel like there's parts where she talks about like her cousin's husband is like a really shitty guy, and she talks about that for like half the book. And then she also talks about the death of like one of her best friends, and this isn't a spoiler because she talks about it pretty early on, and it has absolutely no relevance to the actual plot of the book whatsoever, but she had a friend that OD'd, and she talks about that a lot. And it's like, if you took all of that away, like the parts with her cousin's husband and the parts with her telling her cousin that her husband's shitty and the parts of like her talking about her friend that died, then it would be like maybe 100 pages, and it would be a pretty good novella, I feel like. But for some reason there's all that random fluff in here. I just like, I didn't really understand it. The plot is a little all over the place, and I just struggled to kind of like follow along at some point. Still a really good book in my opinion, just don't go into it thinking it's horror. It's definitely like drama, literary fiction with like some paranormal murder mystery elements, but I'm not mad that I read it. It's just not what I was expecting. So there was that one, 3 stars. Yay. What was I using this one for? Like, what was it? Because this did not take place in fall. I was hoping this would take place in fall, but it did not. It, in the very end, or maybe like the middle to end, they go to like the fair, and they're talking about how like much they love spring and stuff, and I was like, ugh, damn it. But I did read this in the dark because I listened to the audio a little bit, so we will count it for the black cover and a book that I read in the dark. And I actually also picked up Midwinter Witch, which is the Witch Boy number 3, the very last one in the series, and this was good. It was definitely my least favorite in the like series, the trilogy as a whole. I feel like the storyline didn't seem like a conclusion volume. Like, we got introduced to a ton of new characters, and there were a lot of like unanswered questions, and it kind of just like opened up to the idea of there being more issues or more books. But it's like very well known that came out like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and all over the website, Goodreads, everything, it says that that's the conclusion. So like, it's very well known we're not getting any more of those. But it just kind of sucks. It didn't feel like a conclusion. It felt like maybe she wrote it before knowing it was going to be the last one, because it just seemed a little like open-ended. But it was so cute. It was wholesome. It was really nice, and I'm glad that I read it. And it also checks off a whole series. So that's another completed series for me, which is a challenge that I'm like trying to do like the whole year. So that was good. So that one checks off read a manga graphic novel or a novella. Then I did start Lights, which is Sheets number 3, and also the last one in the series. I don't know what's up with these like graphic novels and only having like 3 in the series. I got maybe like 20 pages in, but it does take place in the fall, and I was hoping that it would, because it's all about like ghosts. She mentions that it's like the end of November, like it's her birthday, and she talks about like Thanksgiving break and stuff like that. So I'm glad that I picked this one up, because it was also like on my NetGalley and like ARCs to be read, and it's been on my TBR for a long time. And after Midwinter Witch, I just felt like reading another graphic novel, because I don't know why, but I'm like not in the mood to pick this up right now. So I was like, I'll just read another graphic novel, something that's like spooky vibes. And I had that one on my like need to read list for ARCs, because it comes out in September, I believe. I don't know what I want to do for like the rest of the night tonight. I will probably maybe try to finish Lights, because it's not super long. And then I don't know. We'll see what I end up doing for the rest of the night, but I did just want to check in because I kind of like got on a roll with finishing stuff. That's it for now. So I ended up picking up Cross Her Heart by Sarah Pinborough for the thriller prompt, just because like a psychological thriller sounded really, really good. So I ended up just reading that for the rest of the evening in bed, just with a cuppa. And I ended up getting, I think, like a 4th or maybe a 3rd of the way through. So I got pretty far in it, honestly, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I feel like it's kind of predictable. I have a lot of guesses about things, so we'll see in the end, but it's good writing, and it is very thrilling. So I'm really happy that I finally picked this one up, and that's how I spent day 5.